here's another episode of Tech Tip Tuesday brought to you by Steve and Ethan here at Soundwave Customs. And yes, we're in the fab shop and we're going to talk about subwoofer boxes and enclosures. We're not going to talk about cardboard boxes that some of you guys put subwoofers in. And we like throwing stuff on Tech Tip Tuesday videos because we can. So this is our once a month Tech Tip Tuesday video. And as you guys are going to see through this video, we're going to have some overlay of one of our head fabricators, Adam, actually building a custom subwoofer enclosure here in this fabrication facility. But we're going to talk about some of the free prefab boxes, the pre-made boxes, if you will, and some of the custom boxes and the differences between them, why you might need the different applications, some of the tools that are involved in building some of these enclosures, and just some basics because it's Tech Tip Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so we'll start off with like the most basic guys over here. You can see the quality of the wood is thin, the carpet looks kind of dingy and cheesy, but these work, for the people that are, maybe looking to, stay on a budget and still get good sound. These work, they're not bad, but you're really not going to maximize the performance of the woofers you have with enclosures like this because they are just kind of universal. They're built to just fit a multitude of different applications, and they're universal. So,
right.
They sound okay, but not amazing, and that's where we start talking about custom boxes,
right?
Because now we can tune this enclosure for the woofers you have and really maximize the performance of those drivers, so they don't sound peaky or fat. Or we want a nice, clean, flat overall sound where it'll play a wide band of sound.
The correct size port. There's a lot of factors and math that goes into a subwoofer enclosure. And like Steve was saying, some of the prefab enclosures are great. Your everyday application is fine, but it's not necessarily built for that specific woofer you're buying. It can be built for 20 different woofers. It's not necessarily built for your specific vehicle you're driving. So it really depends on the application. Some vehicles we don't have a choice but to do custom.
Yep.
Some subs we don't have a choice but to do custom.
Yeah.
And some subs work great in there, and that's all you really need. If you want something custom, we can build you a custom facial or fascia. People call it different names, and then actually dress up this enclosure to make it look a little bit more fancy and not basic. And we can do that as well. So it really depends. We're not saying those are bad. We're not saying this is the only way to go. We're just here to once again educate you on the differences between the two. Yeah, I mean, so it's not only the amount of airspace, the tuning frequency of the subwoofer inside the enclosure, the port, the dimensions of the port. There's a lot of applications that go into designing and building a subwoofer enclosure.
Yeah, I mean, you can drop $1,000 sub into this little cheap box right here, and it will play and it'll make noise, but it's not going to sound the way it should sound because it's not. This box is not engineered for that woofer to sound the right way. So we want you guys to, if you're going to spend money on subwoofers, we want you to get the most performance you can out of those woofers and get them to sound the best. And the box is what makes the sub sound the right way. It's not really as much to do with the woofer as it is the enclosure. So
right,
we can work magic. We can take really inexpensive subwoofers and build a custom box and make them sound like an expensive sub in a bad box or a cheap box. So there's that. And then there's the other conversation I have too about these are just square boxes, right? Custom boxes. But now there's also custom boxes when it comes to fitment in vehicles or in pickup trucks and things like that as well. So there's a lot of other enclosures and other custom ideas that are out there too that we can touch on too.
Exactly. And while we're talking on this video, you'll see Adam building this enclosure, and that's the other reason I want to talk about real quick on price point. When we say it's $400 or $500 starting to do a custom enclosure, there's a reason behind that. As some of you guys are viewing right now, we start from a flat sheet of wood. We actually design the box. We don't just build all these sides and slap it together.
Yep.
We actually do the math on it. There's design software that we have here at Soundwave Customs. So we were designing for the woofer and the vehicle once again. So there's a lot entailed into it, and that's why they start at $400 or $500. Now, if you want some pretty lights, or we do have a CNC laser in house here, but we could do all that as well. And that's more cosmetics. It's not necessarily performance. That's why those price points are a little high. We tend to have customers that kind of hesitate with that, but it's just like anything. You buy a nice car, you don't want to put the cheapest oil in it or the cheapest Walmart battery or the cheapest tires on it. If you got a brand new car, you want to put nicer tires, nicer brakes, nicer oil in it. Take care of it. So same thing. You buy a nice woofer, you already have a nice amp, you want nice wire. We had a Tech Tip Tuesday on wire, and now we're having a Tech Tip Tuesday on subwoofer enclosures and why that's important. It's all going to be on the performance. So that $1,000 woofer you're saying, if you're spending $1,000 on it and it sounds like junk, there might be other factors in it. It might not be the subwoofer's fault.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah, and there's other materials that go into when we build these enclosures too. Like a lot of these, these prefabs are just made out of really inexpensive MDF wood. We're typically building custom enclosures with birch plywood because it's super heavy duty and The material is actually lighter than MDF and stronger. So
breaking stuff in the process. That's what we do on Tech Tip Tuesday.
It's going to have to be custom built again. So yeah, there's definitely different materials. And then you start getting into some of the other enclosures, like this enclosure here, this is a JL Audio stealth box here, and this is custom fit for a Jeep, this particular one. But we have conversations about these because these are actually one of the few woofer enclosures that are pre-made that we actually will all agree do sound amazing. So.
Yes, and what JL does is they, and don't quote me on this, they rent or lease or borrow a vehicle, whether it's this specific Jeep JK for that enclosure,
yep.
And actually make a mold and base it off that mold, and then of course they sell them to a ton of different JK customers throughout the country or throughout the world. So it's a really good, and they're designing it for their sub. So once again, like me and Steve were talking about, that enclosure is optimized for that specific. That's a 10 TW1 in that enclosure.
Yep.
But it's just a really nice built molded enclosure that bolts to factory locations on the side of the roll cage in that Jeep JK body style. So that's just one option. Or we have this is a prefab truck enclosure for a GM truck. This is a single 10 that goes under the seat. So normally the transmission hump would hold up that side. It is down firing, and you have the other way. There we go. Sorry, backwards, but it's fine. It's Tech Tip Tuesday.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I learned with you guys. So something like that.
Yeah, and we do have other companies we deal with that do other custom enclosures for trucks as well. They're a lot fancier than this too. That
yes.
we do offer, and they're great. The other thing to talk about too with these JL stealth boxes too, to touch back on that, is the amount of time and effort that's put into us to build something like this from scratch. Okay, we get a lot of people that come in and want to have a custom built in their trunk, the passenger side, left side, behind the tire hump. They look great, they're amazing, but the amount of time that actually goes into building a custom enclosure like that from scratch, out of fiberglass, to get that mold in that shape is really expensive. So the JL enclosures for the money are
the best. Yeah,
best bang for the buck.
They really are. For us to build something like that would probably be roughly even that size because it's smaller. Some of their stealth boxes are a lot larger than that.
Yep.
I would probably start at $800 at the bare bones minimum, because like Steve said, it's molding fiberglass. It's time consuming. There's multiple different layers. We have to wait on dry time. There's a lot of different stuff involved. Sanding is tedious. Depending what we're wrapping it with. Obviously carpet covers a little bit more, but vinyl is going to show every single imperfection. Paint's even worse. So there's a lot involved in it, and that's why. So JL's already kind of put their time into engineering that and designing it, because they're going to sell a million of those models, let's say, just using rough numbers here, versus we're going to sell one or two.
Yep.
So that's why.
Yep. Yeah, so that's one of the few instances where prefabs are very good. These so much, not so much.
Yeah, exactly. There's different templates we have throughout the table. There's a bunch of templates behind us that we can make custom designs for your enclosures, or work with the vehicle shapes or contours of the vehicle. Every vehicle has different contours. Some are square and boxy, some are round, and oval, if you will. There's a lot to subwoofer enclosures. Is a very important part of your system if you are adding subwoofer in the vehicle. But yeah, I think there was one other thing we had to touch on. No. The ports. Maybe you want to explain the difference between like the shared chamber and the shared chamber and the.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot more to do with woofers more than anything else. Some woofers love shared chambers because woofers need massive amounts of airspace. Individual chambers, depends on the woofer. It's really personal preference as far as that goes. We also have different options as far as like what we can cover these enclosures with too, and things like that too. So these are just basic carpet enclosures. We get into some of these. We can do leather match your vehicles, things like that as well.
Yeah. We can do 2-tone, 3-tone.
Yeah. We didn't already touch on that. I don't remember.
Like this is going to be a magnetic piece that's going to be wrapped a different color than this enclosure. So yeah, there's a lot of different options as well to build to your needs. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you enjoy this Tech Tip Tuesday. Once again, it's Education 101. We just like to explain why we do things, why there's the costs associated in the things that we do here at Soundwave Customs and in the mobile electronics and vehicle enhancement industry. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the time-lapse video of Adam building the custom basic enclosure, and hopefully you see what's involved in it, from going from a flat sheet of wood to the finished product. If you have any questions, feel free to write in the comments, send us a message, call us anytime at 757-648-8888. Check us out at Soundwave Customs on all social media or at soundwavecustoms.com. We appreciate you checking this Tech Tip Tuesday video out, and we can't wait to get you the next month's Tech Tip Tuesday video.
Yep.